What I'm about to show you will completely change how you think about your mind, your potential, and what's actually possible for your life. In the next hour, you're going to learn why 99% of people stay trapped in the same patterns year after year. And more importantly, you're going to discover the exact science-based system to break free from any limitation and rewire your brain for automatic success. But here's what you need to understand before we begin. This isn't another motivational video that will make you feel good for a few days and then leave you exactly where you started. This is the real science of how your brain actually works, why you self-sabotage, and the step-by-step process to eliminate these patterns permanently. Most people have no idea that their brain is working against them. They think their thoughts, their reactions, and their limitations are just who they are. They don't realize that 95% of their daily behavior is controlled by subconscious programming that was installed before they were even old enough to question it. But once you understand what I'm about to show you, once you see the invisible mechanisms that have been controlling your life, everything changes. You'll never look at failure, procrastination, or self-doubt the same way again. Because you'll understand exactly what's happening in your brain and exactly how to fix it. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is practical neuroscience that you can implement starting today to create results in your life that most people think are impossible. If you're tired of being your own worst enemy, if you're ready to stop sabotaging your own success, and if you want to finally unlock the potential that you know is inside you, then this video will be the most important thing you watch this year. Let's begin. Chapter 1: The Invisible Prison. Right now, as you're watching this video, your brain is making a decision. It's deciding whether you're the type of person who follows through on transformation or the type who consumes content but never changes. And here's the terrifying truth. That decision isn't being made by the conscious part of your mind that set the goal to improve your life. It's being made by a deeper, more powerful force that has been silently controlling your reality for years. Your subconscious mind is running programs right now. Programs that were installed when you were too young to question them, too naive to resist them, and too powerless to change them. These programs are deciding whether you'll actually apply what you learned today, or whether you'll bookmark this video and forget about it by tomorrow. Most people live their entire lives as prisoners of their own minds, never realizing that the bars of their cage are made of nothing more than outdated mental software. They wonder why they can't break through, why they start strong but always fall back into old patterns, why they know what they should do but somehow never do it. The answer isn't lack of willpower. It isn't bad luck. It isn't even lack of knowledge. The answer is that your brain is wired for survival, not success. And until you understand how to rewire it, you'll keep getting the same results you've always gotten, no matter how hard you try to change. But here's what most people don't know. Your brain is rewiring itself every single second of every single day. Every thought you think, every action you take, every belief you reinforce is physically changing the structure of your brain. This is called neuroplasticity. And it's the reason why some people break free from their limitations while others stay trapped forever. The difference isn't talent. It's not luck. It's knowledge. And that knowledge is exactly what you're about to receive. By the time you finish this video, you will understand the hidden mechanisms that have been controlling your life. You'll know exactly why you self-sabotage, why you procrastinate, and why you sometimes feel like you're your own worst enemy. More importantly, you'll have the exact system to rewire your brain for success, eliminate self-sabotage, and take control of your mind, once and for all. But I'm going to warn you right now, this isn't comfortable information. This isn't feel-good motivation. This is the raw, unfiltered truth about how your mind really works. And if you're not ready to face that truth, if you're not ready to take responsibility for the programs running in your head, then this video isn't for you. But if you're tired of being held back by invisible forces, if you're ready to stop being a victim of your own mind, and if you're committed to doing whatever it takes to break free from the patterns that have kept you stuck, then keep watching. Because what you're about to learn will change everything. Chapter 2: The Silent Architect of Your Reality. Have you ever felt like life is happening to you rather than being shaped by you? Like no matter how hard you try to change, something deep inside keeps pulling you back into old patterns of procrastination, fear, or self-doubt? What if I told you that this isn't random? What if I told you that at this very moment, an unseen force inside your own mind is actively sculpting your reality, filtering what you notice, shaping your decisions, and even determining what you believe is possible for you? That force is your subconscious mind, and whether you realize it or not, it is constructing the life you live every single day. The question is, who programmed it? Most people assume that they are in full control of their thoughts, decisions, and reactions. They believe they are freely choosing their careers, relationships, habits, and even the way they see themselves. But the truth is far more unsettling. Most of these choices were already made for you long before you ever questioned them. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you respond to challenges, the way you approach relationships, the way you handle money, the way you see yourself, all of this was programmed into your subconscious mind before you were even old enough to realize it was happening. Think about it. When you were a child, your brain was like a sponge, absorbing every message, every experience, every emotional reaction from the people around you. If your parents struggled with money, you absorbed beliefs about scarcity. If they had unhealthy relationships, you absorbed dysfunctional patterns of love. If they criticized themselves constantly, you learned to do the same. But it wasn't just your parents. It was teachers who told you what you were good at and what you weren't. It was peers who accepted or rejected you based on arbitrary standards. It was society bombarding you with messages about what success looks like, what you should want, and who you should be. All of these experiences were deposited into your subconscious mind like files in a computer. And now, decades later, these same programs are running your life. They're determining what opportunities you notice, what risks you're willing to take, what you believe you deserve, and what you think is possible for you. This is why two people can be exposed to the exact same opportunity, and one will see it as a chance to transform their life, while the other will see it as too risky, too difficult, or simply not meant for someone like them. It's not because one person is smarter or more capable. It's because their subconscious minds are running different programs. Your subconscious doesn't just store past experiences. It creates your future experiences based on the patterns it has recorded. This is why people who expect bad things to happen to them often experience more negative events. It's not superstition, it's neuroscience. Your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your environment for evidence that matches its existing beliefs. If you believe deep down that you are not capable of success, your mind will filter out opportunities that contradict that belief. If you've been conditioned to expect failure, your subconscious will sabotage you in ways you don't even notice. Procrastination, hesitation, self-doubt, all to keep you within the safe boundaries of your past programming. This is why controlling your mind is the most powerful skill you can ever develop. Once you learn how to override the subconscious programs that limit you, you can begin to shape your life in ways you never thought possible. But first, you need to understand exactly how these programs were installed in the first place, because what has been programmed can be reprogrammed. Your mind is not a fixed entity, locked in place like an unchangeable machine. It is a living, evolving system, shaped by the inputs you allow into it. And just as your subconscious was trained to believe in limitations, it can be trained to believe in limitless potential. But this process is not passive. You cannot simply wish for a new mindset and expect transformation. You must become an active participant in the reprogramming of your own mind, taking control of the very mechanisms that have controlled you for so long. Most people never realize they have this power. They live their entire lives believing that their thoughts, their reactions, and their limitations are just who they are. They never question whether these patterns were installed by external influences, past traumas, or societal conditioning. But the moment you become aware that your thoughts and beliefs are not absolute truths, but rather programs running in your subconscious, you gain the power to change them. This awareness is the first step toward freedom, because you cannot change what you cannot see. The programs running in your subconscious right now are determining whether you'll succeed or fail, whether you'll be confident or insecure, whether you'll take action or remain paralyzed by fear. They're deciding what you'll notice, what you'll ignore, and what you'll believe is possible for your life. But here's the most important thing you need to understand. These programs are not you. They are simply software that was installed without your permission, and just like any software, they can be updated, modified, or completely replaced. The question is, are you ready to take back control? Are you ready to become the programmer of your own mind instead of remaining a prisoner of programming you never chose? Because once you make that decision, once you commit to rewiring your brain for success instead of self-sabotage, everything changes. Chapter 3: The War Between Your Two Minds. Inside your head right now, a war is raging. It's a battle that determines whether you'll achieve your goals or remain stuck in mediocrity, whether you'll break through your limitations or remain trapped by them, whether you'll become the person you're capable of being or stay exactly where you are. This war is being fought between two distinct parts of your mind, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And until you understand this battle, until you learn how to win this war, you will stay trapped in an endless cycle of frustration, knowing you are capable of more yet never quite able to achieve it. The conscious mind is the part of you that sets goals, dreams big, and desires change. It's the voice in your head that tells you to wake up early, work harder, and push past your limits. It's logical, ambitious, and future-focused. It's the part of you that decided to watch this video because you want to transform your life. But then there's the subconscious mind. And this is where the real power lies. The subconscious is not concerned with ambition. It is concerned with safety. Its primary job is to keep you alive, and to do that, it relies on familiarity. If you have spent years believing you are not good enough, your subconscious will resist any attempt to change that belief, not because it wants to hurt you, but because it sees change as a threat to your survival. This is why you experience resistance every time you try to break free from old patterns. Your subconscious mind is like a powerful security system, wired to protect the status quo. The moment you attempt to change your habits, pursue a new goal, or step out of your comfort zone, the alarm system goes off. Suddenly you feel overwhelmed, anxious, and paralyzed by self-doubt. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, that you're not ready yet, that maybe you're just not meant for this path. But this is not the truth. It is just the subconscious fighting to pull you back to what it knows, and unless you recognize this resistance for what it is, it will continue to win, keeping you stuck in the same patterns for the rest of your life. This is why self-sabotage happens. It's not random. It's not a flaw in your personality or a weakness in your character. It is a deeply ingrained survival mechanism, a defense system that kicks in whenever your subconscious perceives a threat. And the biggest threat to the subconscious? Uncertainty. Your subconscious does not care if you are happy or successful. It cares about what is predictable. If you have spent years struggling with confidence, failure, or financial hardship, that is what your mind knows best. It is familiar. It is safe. And so even if you consciously want to change, your subconscious will fight against it, pulling you back to the comfort of your old patterns, even if those patterns are destructive. This is why people return to toxic relationships, even when they know they deserve better. It is why people procrastinate on life-changing opportunities even when they desperately want success. It is why individuals sabotage their own happiness even when they are on the verge of something great. The subconscious does not care about greatness. It cares about keeping things the same. But here's the good news. Once you understand this mechanism, you can work with it instead of against it. You can learn to recognize when your subconscious is resisting change, and you can develop strategies to override that resistance. The key is understanding that your subconscious mind is not your enemy. It is simply following instructions, running the scripts it was given, enforcing beliefs that it thinks are in your best interest. And if those scripts were installed in fear, in self-doubt, or in limitation, then your subconscious will continue pulling you toward failure, not out of malice, but out of loyalty to its programming. The only way to break free is to reclaim your mental territory, to rewrite the scripts that have dictated your reality for so long. And the first step is understanding exactly how your subconscious takes control in the first place. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast open field, a limitless horizon stretching before you. You are free to go anywhere, do anything, become anyone, but instead of stepping forward, you feel a pull, an invisible barrier keeping you where you are. You hesitate. You doubt yourself. You hear a voice inside your mind whispering, "Stay where it's safe. Don't risk it. You might fail." This barrier is not real. It is not made of stone or steel. It is constructed from memories, past experiences, and the unconscious lessons you have absorbed over a lifetime. If you've ever tried to achieve something and failed, your subconscious remembers. If you've ever been hurt, rejected, or embarrassed, your subconscious has stored it away like an archived document, ready to pull out whenever you attempt to step beyond your comfort zone. This is why, no matter how much you consciously want to succeed, grow, or evolve, your subconscious will resist. It doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about protecting you from perceived danger. And if stepping into the unknown feels dangerous, even if that unknown holds your greatest potential, your mind will sabotage you before you ever begin. But the comfort zone is an illusion. It's a mirage, a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep you small, predictable, and in control. It convinces you that the familiar is good, that staying in the same patterns, even when they bring you pain, is preferable to taking risks. But let's break this illusion. Think about the moments in your life where you truly felt alive, when your soul was ignited, when excitement pulsed through you like electricity. Did those moments happen inside your comfort zone? Or did they happen when you took a leap? When you challenged yourself, when you risked something and came out the other side stronger? Growth does not happen where it's safe. Transformation does not come from repetition. If you want to reclaim your mind, you must train yourself to embrace discomfort. You must rewire your subconscious to see the unknown not as a threat, but as an adventure, as the place where your greatest potential is waiting. The war between your conscious and subconscious mind is not something that happens to you. It is something you can learn to control. But first, you must understand the weapons your subconscious uses to keep you trapped. Because once you can recognize them, you can neutralize them. Chapter 4. The 3 Faces of Mental Resistance. Resistance does not always appear as obvious self-doubt or fear. It is far more subtle, often disguising itself as rational excuses, distractions, or emotional roadblocks that keep you stuck without you even realizing it. To master your mind, you must first learn to recognize the ways resistance is manifesting in your life. The first face of resistance is procrastination, the illusion of later. Procrastination is not laziness. It is fear in disguise. When you put off an important task, it is not because you don't care. It is because, on some level, your subconscious perceives that task as a threat. Maybe it triggers self-doubt. Maybe it forces you to confront uncertainty. Maybe it pushes you outside the comfort of what is familiar. Your mind's solution? Delay it. It convinces you that later will somehow be easier, but later never comes. Procrastination is a self-reinforcing cycle. The more you avoid something, the more intimidating it becomes and the harder it is to take action. The only way to break this cycle is to recognize that the discomfort of action is always less painful than the regret of inaction. Think about the last time you procrastinated on something important. What was really happening beneath the surface? Were you afraid of not being good enough? Were you worried about what others might think? Were you overwhelmed by the scope of the task? Your subconscious was protecting you from these perceived threats by keeping you in a state of avoidance. But here's what your subconscious doesn't understand. Avoiding the discomfort of action creates a much deeper discomfort. The pain of knowing you're not living up to your potential. Every time you choose the temporary relief of procrastination, you reinforce the belief that you're someone who doesn't follow through. And that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The second phase of resistance is overthinking, the paralysis of endless thought. The mind is a master of creating problems that don't exist. Overthinking is another form of resistance, an endless loop of analysis that prevents you from taking action. It gives you the illusion of progress. I'm thinking about it. But in reality, it keeps you trapped in mental paralysis. The subconscious mind does this to keep you in a state of hesitation. If you are always thinking about something, you never have to risk failure. But success is never about perfect decisions. It is about decisive action. The cure for overthinking? Trust yourself. Make a decision and move forward, even if it's not perfect. Action will always teach you more than endless contemplation. Your brain loves to convince you that you need more information, more time, more certainty before you can act. But this is a trap. In most situations, you already have enough information to make a good decision. The additional analysis you think you need is often just resistance in disguise. Your subconscious mind buying time to talk you out of taking action. The third phase of resistance is self-doubt, the silent assassin of potential. Self-doubt is perhaps the most dangerous form of resistance because it operates at a core identity level. It is the inner voice that questions your worth, your ability, or your right to succeed. If your subconscious has been programmed with beliefs like, "I'm not good enough," or "I always fail," then no amount of external validation will override this internal programming. The only way to break free from self-doubt is to consciously reprogram your self-image. This means feeding your mind new, empowering beliefs until they become your default identity. Self-doubt is not something you fix in a day. It is something you starve by refusing to entertain it, by proving it wrong through action, and by consistently reinforcing a new identity. But resistance has other faces too. Sometimes it shows up as perfectionism, the belief that something must be flawless before you can share it or move forward. Perfectionism is not about high standards. It's about fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of not being good enough. It keeps you trapped in endless preparation, endless tweaking, endless improvement without ever actually launching or taking action. Resistance can also appear as comparison, constantly measuring yourself against others and finding reasons why you're not ready, not qualified, or not talented enough. It shows up as imposter syndrome, making you feel like a fraud even when you're genuinely qualified. It manifests as analysis paralysis, where you research and plan so extensively that you never actually begin. Sometimes resistance looks like distraction addiction, the compulsive need to check your phone, scroll social media, or consume content instead of creating it. Your brain craves dopamine hits from these activities because they provide immediate gratification without the discomfort of challenging work. Resistance can even disguise itself as learning addiction, the belief that you need to consume just one more course, read one more book, or attend one more seminar before you're ready to take action. While learning is valuable, it becomes resistance when it's used as an excuse to avoid implementation. The key to recognizing resistance is understanding its underlying purpose: to keep you safe, comfortable, and within the boundaries of what your subconscious considers familiar. But safety is the enemy of growth, comfort is the enemy of achievement, and familiarity is the enemy of transformation. Every time you feel the urge to procrastinate, overthink, or doubt yourself, pause and ask, is this resistance trying to keep me small? Usually, the answer is yes. And once you can see resistance for what it is, not a reflection of reality, but a protective mechanism that no longer serves you, you can choose to act despite it. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear or resistance. Courage is feeling the resistance and taking action anyway. Every successful person has learned to recognize these patterns and push through them consistently. They understand that resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that they're moving in the right direction. The goal is not to eliminate resistance entirely. That's impossible. The goal is to recognize it quickly, understand what it's trying to protect you from, and then make a conscious choice to act in alignment with your goals rather than your fears. This recognition is the first step in taking back control of your mind, because once you can see the mechanisms of resistance clearly, you can begin to override them systematically. And that's exactly what we're going to learn how to do next. Chapter 5. The Science of Mental Rewiring. Your brain is not fixed. It is not hardwired for failure, limited by past programming, or destined to repeat the same patterns forever. Your brain is plastic, literally capable of rewiring itself based on your thoughts, actions, and experiences. This is called neuroplasticity, and it is the most powerful tool you have for transforming your mind and your life. Every time you think a thought, take an action, or feel an emotion, neurons in your brain fire together. The more often they fire in a certain pattern, the stronger that pattern becomes. This is why habits feel automatic, because the neural pathways controlling them have been strengthened over time through repetition. But here's the life-changing part. Just as old patterns were built, new patterns can be installed. The key is repetition and emotional intensity. The subconscious learns through consistent reinforcement, not by hearing something once, but by experiencing it over and over again until it becomes the new default. This is why affirmations, visualization, and repeated action are so powerful. They don't work because of magic. They work because they are rewiring the brain, strengthening new neural connections until they replace the old ones. For example, if you've spent years believing, "I'm not confident," your brain has deep neural pathways reinforcing that belief. Simply telling yourself, "I am confident," once won't override it. But if you repeatedly visualize yourself acting with confidence, if you start taking small actions that reinforce confidence, if you create new emotional experiences tied to confidence, over time, those neural pathways become stronger and the old ones weaken. This is why change feels hard at first. You are literally rewiring your brain, building new mental highways while the old ones still exist. But the more you reinforce the new belief, the more automatic it becomes, until one day it is no longer something you have to try to believe. It is simply who you are. The moment everything clicks is when the new belief, the new habit, the new mindset becomes stronger than the old one. And when this happens, change is no longer a struggle. It no longer requires force. It becomes natural. Think about how hard it was to learn how to drive a car at first. You had to consciously think about every movement: the steering wheel, the pedals, checking mirrors, signaling. It was overwhelming and required intense focus. But now, you can drive while having a conversation, listening to music, or thinking about something completely different. Driving has become automatic because the neural pathways have been strengthened through repetition. The same principle applies to confidence, discipline, positive thinking, or any other mental skill you want to develop. At first, it requires conscious effort and feels unnatural. But with consistent practice, these new patterns become as automatic as driving. But neuroplasticity isn't just about creating new patterns. It's also about understanding how to weaken old ones. Neural pathways that aren't used begin to atrophy, literally breaking down at the cellular level. This is why the phrase, use it or lose it, is scientifically accurate when it comes to your brain. Every time you choose not to engage with a negative thought pattern, every time you refuse to indulge in self-doubt or procrastination, you are weakening those neural pathways. Simultaneously, every time you choose the new behavior or thought pattern, you are strengthening the pathways you want to dominate your mind. This process happens through something called myelin sheath formation. Myelin is a white substance that wraps around frequently used neural pathways, making them faster and more efficient. The more you repeat a thought or action, the thicker the myelin becomes, and the more automatic that pattern becomes. This is why elite athletes practice the same movements thousands of times. They're not just building muscle memory. They're building thick myelin sheaths around the neural pathways that control those movements, making them faster, more precise, and more automatic than their competitors. You can use this same principle to rewire your mind for success. Every time you choose discipline over procrastination, confidence over self-doubt, or action over hesitation, you are building myelin around the neural pathways of success. Eventually, these behaviors become so automatic that you don't have to think about them anymore. But here's what most people get wrong about neuroplasticity. They think it happens automatically. They think that just knowing about brain plasticity will somehow change their brain. But neuroplasticity requires deliberate, consistent action. You have to actively participate in the rewiring process. Your brain changes based on what you repeatedly think about, focus on, and do. If you repeatedly focus on problems, limitations, and what's wrong with your life, you're strengthening those neural pathways. If you repeatedly focus on solutions, possibilities, and what you want to create, you're strengthening different pathways. This is why your environment matters so much. Your brain is constantly adapting to the inputs it receives. If you surround yourself with negative people, consume negative media, and engage in negative self-talk, you're training your brain to see the world through a negative lens. But if you deliberately expose your brain to positive inputs, inspiring content, successful people, empowering beliefs, you begin to rewire it for a different reality. This isn't positive thinking nonsense. This is how your brain actually works. The reticular activating system in your brain acts like a filter, determining what information reaches your conscious mind. Right now, there are millions of bits of information around you, but your brain filters out most of it, only letting through what it considers relevant. And what does it consider relevant? Whatever aligns with your existing neural pathways and beliefs. This is why, once you buy a new car, you suddenly start seeing that same model everywhere. It was always there, but your brain didn't notice it before, because it wasn't part of your mental programming. Now that it is, your RAS lets it through. The same principle applies to opportunities, solutions, and possibilities. If your brain is wired to expect failure, your RAS will filter out evidence of potential success. If your brain is wired to see problems, your RAS will highlight everything that's wrong while filtering out what's working. But when you rewire your brain through neuroplasticity, you literally change what your RAS allows into your conscious awareness. You start noticing opportunities you never saw before, solutions that were always there, and possibilities that seemed impossible when your brain was running old programming. This is how some people seem to be lucky. They're not actually luckier. They just have brains that are wired to notice and act on opportunities that others miss. And this can be trained. This can be developed. This can be rewired. The question is, what are you training your brain to notice? What patterns are you strengthening? What reality are you programming your RAS to filter for? Because whatever you consistently focus on, think about, and practice is literally rewiring your brain to create more of it. This is why transformation isn't just about changing your actions. It's about changing your brain. And changing your brain changes everything. Chapter 6. The 3 Pillars of Subconscious Reprogramming. Now that you understand the science behind neuroplasticity, let's dive into the practical system for rewiring your subconscious mind. There are 3 fundamental pillars that determine whether your reprogramming efforts will succeed or fail: exposure, repetition, and emotional intensity. These aren't just concepts. They are the biological requirements for changing your brain. Miss any one of these pillars, and your efforts will produce minimal results. Master all 3, and you can reprogram any limiting belief, install any empowering habit, and transform any area of your life. The first pillar is exposure, flooding your mind with a new reality. Your subconscious forms beliefs based on what it is exposed to most often. If you grew up in an environment where people struggled with money, where success was seen as rare, or where relationships were dysfunctional, those became your default subconscious programs. The only way to change them is to expose your mind to a new version of reality, one where success, happiness, and confidence are normal. This means surrounding yourself with people, content, and environments that reflect the reality you want to create. Read books, listen to mentors, and consume media that aligns with the mindset you're trying to build. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences. This is why visualization is so powerful. When you repeatedly visualize yourself succeeding, your brain fires the same neural pathways as if you were actually experiencing success. The more your subconscious sees something as normal, the more it will start filtering reality to match it. But exposure isn't just about positive content. It's also about limiting exposure to programming that reinforces your old patterns. If you're trying to develop confidence, but you spend hours every day consuming content that makes you feel inadequate, you're working against yourself. If you're building wealth consciousness, but you're constantly around people who complain about money, you're undermining your own progress. This doesn't mean you have to cut off all negative people or never acknowledge problems. It means being strategic about what you allow into your mental environment, especially during the critical reprogramming phase. Your brain is always absorbing and integrating the dominant patterns in your environment. Make sure those patterns align with who you want to become. The second pillar is repetition, strengthening new neural pathways. Your subconscious does not change overnight. It changes through consistent repetition. This is why habits are so powerful. Every time you repeat a thought or action, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with it. If you've spent years telling yourself, "I'm not good enough," that belief has a deep neural groove in your brain. Simply thinking differently once or twice won't override it. But if you start consciously reinforcing new beliefs over and over, those new neural pathways become stronger and the old ones weaken. This is the essence of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated experiences. But here's what most people get wrong. They try to change everything at once. They attempt to reprogram their entire mindset in a week. This overwhelms the brain and activates resistance. Instead, focus on one core belief at a time. Choose the most limiting belief in your life, the one that's holding you back in multiple areas. Then commit to reprogramming that single belief through daily repetition for at least 30 days. This gives your brain enough time to build new neural pathways without triggering massive resistance. The key is consistency over intensity. It's better to do 10 minutes of focused reprogramming every day than to do 2 hours once a week. Your brain responds to regular, consistent input much more effectively than sporadic, intense sessions. Think of it like building muscle. You don't get strong by working out for 12 hours once a month. You get strong by working out consistently allowing your muscles to adapt and grow over time. Your brain works the same way. The third pillar is emotional intensity, making the new reality feel real. Your subconscious responds to emotion, not logic. You can tell yourself, "I am confident 1,000 times," but if you don't feel it, your subconscious won't register it as real. The key is to attach strong positive emotions to the new belief. When you visualize success, don't just see it. Feel the excitement, the pride, the joy of achievement. When you affirm a new identity, don't just speak the words. Embody the energy and confidence of that identity. This is why visualization works best when it's combined with intense emotion. Your brain can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, especially when strong emotions are involved. The more emotionally real you can make a new belief feel, the faster your subconscious will accept it as truth. But emotional intensity isn't just about positive emotions. It's also about the emotional pain of staying stuck. Your brain moves away from pain and toward pleasure. If staying in your old patterns feels more painful than changing, your subconscious will support the change instead of resisting it. This is why some people don't change until they hit rock bottom. The pain of their current situation finally becomes greater than the fear of uncertainty. But you don't have to wait for rock bottom. You can consciously create emotional leverage by connecting intense pain to your old patterns and intense pleasure to your new identity. Ask yourself, what will it cost you if you don't change? What opportunities will you miss? What regrets will you have? What pain will you experience if you stay exactly where you are for the next 5 years? Feel that pain deeply. Then ask yourself, what will you gain when you successfully reprogram your mind? What opportunities will open up? What pride and confidence will you feel? What life becomes possible? Feel that excitement intensely. These 3 pillars work together synergistically. Exposure without repetition is just inspiration. Repetition without emotion is just mechanical conditioning. Emotion without exposure and repetition is just temporary motivation. But when you combine all 3, consistent exposure to a new reality, daily repetition of new patterns, and intense emotional connection to your new identity, you create the perfect conditions for rapid subconscious reprogramming. The transformation isn't gradual when you use all 3 pillars correctly. It's exponential. At first, you might not notice much change. You're building new neural pathways while the old ones are still strong. But there comes a tipping point where the new pathways become dominant, and suddenly, the change feels effortless and natural. This is when you know the reprogramming has taken hold. You're no longer trying to be confident. You simply are confident. You're no longer forcing yourself to take action. Action feels natural. You're no longer fighting against your old patterns. They simply don't arise anymore. This is the power of systematic subconscious reprogramming, but most people never experience it because they don't understand the requirements. They try affirmations without emotion. They visualize without consistency. They expose themselves to new ideas without repetition. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But now you know the formula. You understand the 3 pillars. The question is, are you willing to apply them consistently until the transformation becomes inevitable? Chapter 7. Breaking the Self-Sabotage Code. Self-sabotage is not a character flaw. It's not a lack of willpower or a sign that you're broken. Self-sabotage is a sophisticated survival mechanism that your subconscious mind uses to keep you safe from perceived threats. But once you understand the code, the hidden logic behind self-sabotaging behaviors, you can neutralize them and redirect that energy toward your success. The first pattern is the success panic response. This happens when you start making real progress toward your goals, and suddenly, your subconscious perceives success as dangerous. Why would success feel dangerous? Because success means change, and change means leaving the familiar territory of your comfort zone. Your subconscious has kept you alive by maintaining predictable patterns. If you've lived most of your life struggling with confidence, your subconscious sees that struggle as normal, safe, and familiar. When you start becoming genuinely confident, your subconscious doesn't celebrate. It panics. This is why people often self-sabotage right before major breakthroughs. They're about to get the promotion, but they miss an important meeting. They're building a successful business, but they suddenly stop marketing. They're in a healthy relationship, but they pick fights or create distance. The key to overcoming success panic is recognition and reassurance. When you notice self-sabotaging behaviors emerging as you approach success, pause and communicate with your subconscious. Recognize that the panic is a sign you're growing, not a sign you should stop. Reassure your subconscious that success is safe, that you can handle new challenges, and that growth doesn't mean abandoning your core identity. The second pattern is worthiness resistance. This occurs when your subconscious believes you don't deserve the success you're pursuing. These worthiness issues often stem from childhood programming. Messages about what you deserve based on your behavior, achievements, or value as a person. If you were taught that you have to earn love, that you don't deserve good things unless you're perfect, or that people like you don't get to have certain types of success, your subconscious will actively work against achievements that contradict these beliefs. Worthiness resistance shows up as perfectionism, procrastination, and comparison. You'll find reasons why you're not ready, not qualified, or not good enough. You'll compare yourself to others and find evidence that you don't belong in the same category as successful people. The solution is identity work. You must consciously reprogram your sense of self-worth. This isn't about earning worth through achievements. It's about recognizing that your worth is inherent and unconditional. You deserve success not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. The third pattern is familiar pain addiction. Your subconscious mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar pleasure. If you've lived with certain types of struggle, stress, or limitation for most of your life, those painful patterns become comfortable because they're predictable. This is why some people unconsciously recreate the same problems in different areas of their life. They escape one toxic relationship only to attract another. They overcome financial struggles only to create new money problems. They solve one set of challenges only to generate different, but equally stressful challenges. The subconscious isn't addicted to pain for its own sake. It's addicted to familiarity. And if your familiar patterns happen to include pain, struggle, or limitation, your subconscious will recreate those patterns to maintain consistency with your identity. Breaking familiar pain addiction requires patience and conscious choice. Every time you notice yourself gravitating toward familiar problems or recreating old patterns in new situations, pause and choose differently. It will feel uncomfortable and wrong at first because your subconscious interprets the absence of familiar pain as a threat. The fourth pattern is imposter syndrome sabotage. This happens when you achieve a level of success that doesn't match your internal self-image. Your subconscious believes you're pretending to be someone you're not, and it creates behaviors designed to expose you or bring you back down to your real level. Imposter syndrome sabotage shows up as over-explaining yourself, downplaying your achievements, avoiding opportunities that would showcase your success, or making mistakes that confirm your fears about being found out. The key insight is that imposter syndrome isn't about lack of qualification. It's about lack of identity alignment. You've achieved external success faster than your internal self-image has updated. The solution is not to shrink back to match your old identity, but to consciously upgrade your identity to match your new reality. The fifth pattern is future fear projection. This occurs when your subconscious creates catastrophic scenarios about what will happen if you succeed. It projects fears about the responsibilities, expectations, or changes that come with success. Your subconscious might fear that success will make you a target for criticism, that you'll lose important relationships, that you won't be able to handle the pressure, or that you'll become someone you don't want to be. These fears are usually based on limited examples or worst-case scenarios rather than realistic probabilities. The solution is to consciously create positive scenarios about your future success. Visualize yourself handling success gracefully, maintaining important relationships, and becoming an even better version of yourself through your achievements. The sixth pattern is control illusion sabotage. Sometimes people sabotage themselves because they'd rather fail on their own terms than risk failing despite their best efforts. There's a strange comfort in self-sabotage because it maintains the illusion that you're in control of your failures. If you don't try your hardest, you can always tell yourself that you could have succeeded if you'd really applied yourself. This protects your ego from the possibility of genuine failure, failing despite giving your all. The antidote to control illusion sabotage is embracing the possibility of genuine failure while taking full action anyway. Accept that you might fail despite your best efforts and choose to give your best efforts anyway. This removes the psychological need to sabotage yourself as a form of failure insurance. Understanding these self-sabotage patterns is the first step to neutralizing them. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need specific strategies to intervene when these patterns arise. The most effective strategy is the pause and redirect protocol. When you notice self-sabotaging thoughts or behaviors emerging, pause immediately. Don't judge yourself or try to fight the thoughts. Instead, acknowledge them. I notice my subconscious is trying to protect me from perceived danger. Then redirect. This is actually a sign that I'm growing and moving toward my goals. This resistance means I'm on the right track. Finally, take one small action that aligns with your goals despite the resistance. This trains your subconscious that you can handle discomfort and that growth is safe. Remember, self-sabotage is not your enemy. It's a misguided protector. Once you understand its language and learn to communicate with it effectively, you can transform that protective energy into fuel for your success. Chapter 8. The Identity Shift Protocol. The deepest level of transformation happens when you change not just what you do, but who you believe you are. Your identity is the collection of beliefs you hold about yourself, and it acts as a thermostat for your life. No matter what external changes you try to make, you will always gravitate back toward behaviors that match your identity. This is why most people fail at permanent change. They try to change their actions without changing their identity. They want to lose weight while still seeing themselves as someone who struggles with food. They want to build wealth while maintaining the identity of someone who's not good with money. They want to be confident while holding on to the belief that they're naturally shy. Your subconscious mind's primary job is to maintain consistency between your identity and your reality. If there's a conflict between what you want to achieve and who you believe you are, your identity will win every time. This is why identity-based transformation is so powerful. When you change your identity, your behaviors naturally align with that new sense of self. The Identity Shift Protocol is a systematic method for upgrading your core identity to match the person you need to become to achieve your goals. It works by gradually shifting your self-concept through 3 phases: recognition, redefinition, and reinforcement. Phase 1 is recognition, identifying your current identity programming. Most people are unconscious of their identity beliefs. They've been operating from the same self-concept for so long that it feels like absolute truth rather than a changeable programming. Start by asking yourself, how do I complete the sentence, I am someone who? What characteristics do you automatically attribute to yourself? What do you believe about your capabilities, your worth, your potential? What stories do you tell about yourself when you're explaining why you can or can't do something? Pay attention to the language you use when describing yourself to others. Do you say, "I'm not a morning person," or "I'm terrible with technology," or "I'm just not creative"? These seemingly innocent self-descriptions are actually identity statements that your subconscious treats as commands. Also notice what you believe about people who have what you want. Do you think successful people are different from you in some fundamental way? Do you believe they have advantages you don't have, or that they're naturally better at certain things? These beliefs about other types of people reveal your current identity limitations. Phase 2 is redefinition, consciously designing your new identity. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about identifying the person you need to become to achieve your goals, and then deliberately adopting that identity. Start with your ultimate goal and work backwards. If you want to build a successful business, what kind of person builds successful businesses? What do they believe about themselves? How do they think? How do they make decisions? What characteristics do they embody? Then ask yourself, what would I need to believe about myself to naturally act in ways that create this outcome? If you want to be wealthy, you need to adopt the identity of someone who naturally creates value and attracts money. If you want to be confident, you need to see yourself as someone who is inherently worthy and capable. The key is to choose identity statements that feel like a stretch, but not a lie. You want to grow into your new identity gradually, rather than trying to make a quantum leap that triggers massive resistance from your subconscious. For example, instead of jumping from "I'm terrible with money" to "I'm a millionaire," you might first adopt "I'm someone who is learning to manage money wisely," and then progress to "I'm someone who makes good financial decisions," before eventually embodying "I'm someone who naturally creates wealth." Phase 3 is reinforcement, proving your new identity to yourself through action. Identity change happens through what psychologists call identity-confirming behaviors. Every time you act in a way that's consistent with your new identity, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that identity. This is where most people get it backwards. They think they need to feel confident before they can act confidently, or they need to feel wealthy before they can make wealth-building decisions. But identity change works in reverse. You act your way into a new identity, not the other way around. Start with small identity-confirming actions. If you're adopting the identity of someone who is disciplined, start by making your bed every morning. If you're becoming someone who is healthy, start by drinking more water. If you're developing the identity of an entrepreneur, start by treating every small decision like a business decision. Each small action sends a signal to your subconscious. This is who I am now. Over time, these signals accumulate, and your subconscious updates its understanding of your identity. When this happens, acting in alignment with your goals stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. But here's what makes the identity shift protocols so powerful. It includes specific techniques for accelerating the process. The identity mantra technique involves creating a short, powerful statement that captures your new identity and repeating it with emotional intensity throughout the day. This isn't positive thinking. It's identity programming. Choose a statement like, "I am someone who always finds a way," or "I am someone who creates value wherever I go," and repeat it during transitional moments throughout your day. The future self-visualization involves regularly imagining yourself as the person who has already embodied your new identity. See yourself making decisions from this new identity. Feel the confidence, the clarity, the natural ease with which this version of you navigates challenges. This trains your subconscious to see this identity as normal and achievable. The Identity Evidence Journal involves documenting every action you take that confirms your new identity, no matter how small. This accelerates the identity shift by training your brain to notice and remember identity-confirming behaviors, rather than focusing on the times you fell back into old patterns. The pre-frame protocol involves making decisions from your new identity before situations arise. Instead of waiting to see how you'll react to challenges, you predetermine how your new identity would respond. This prevents old identity patterns from taking over in high-stress situations. The most important thing to understand about identity change is that it's not about perfection. You don't need to embody your new identity 100% of the time immediately. You just need to act from your new identity more often than you act from your old identity. Over time, the balance tips and your new identity becomes your default. Your identity is not fixed. It's not determined by your past, your genetics, or your circumstances. Your identity is a choice, a set of beliefs you hold about yourself that can be consciously updated at any time. The question is, who do you choose to be? And more importantly, are you willing to start acting like that person today, even before you fully feel like them? Because once you master the identity shift protocol, once you learn to consciously design and embody new identities, you become capable of achieving anything. Your external circumstances will always rise to match your internal identity. Change your identity, and you change your entire life. Chapter 9. The Discipline Override System. Discipline is not a character trait you're born with or without. It's a skill that can be developed, a mental muscle that can be strengthened, and a system that can be installed in your subconscious mind. Most people fail at discipline because they're fighting against their own programming instead of working with their brain's natural mechanisms. The key insight is that your brain is wired for immediate gratification, not long-term success. It wants pleasure now, not later. It prefers comfort over growth, familiarity over improvement, and instant satisfaction over delayed rewards. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism that's no longer serving you in the modern world. Your ancestors needed to conserve energy and take immediate rewards when they were available because resources were scarce and survival was uncertain. Your brain still operates from this programming, which is why it's easier to watch Netflix than to work on your goals, easier to sleep in than to hit the gym, and easier to scroll through social media than to read a book. But here's the good news. You can rewire your brain to favor discipline over instant gratification. Every time you choose discipline over temptation, you strengthen the neural pathways that make disciplined behavior easier in the future. At first it feels difficult, but with consistency, it becomes second nature. The discipline override system works by creating structures that make discipline automatic, rather than relying on willpower or motivation. It consists of 4 core components: environmental design, decision reduction, identity reinforcement, and progressive overload. Environmental design is about creating conditions that make disciplined choices easier and undisciplined choices harder. Your environment is constantly influencing your behavior, often without your conscious awareness. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your house and stock it with healthy options. If you want to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to be more productive, remove distracting apps from your phone and create a dedicated workspace. The principle is simple. Design your environment to support your goals rather than fighting against it with willpower. Willpower is a finite resource that gets depleted throughout the day. Environmental design leverages the power of defaults and friction to guide your behavior without requiring conscious decision-making. Think about the choices you make automatically based on your environment. If there's a plate of cookies on the counter, you'll probably eat more cookies than if you had to go to the store to buy them. If your phone is next to your bed, you'll probably check it first thing in the morning. If your gym bag is by the door, you're more likely to work out after work. Environmental design isn't about perfect willpower. It's about smart systems. Create friction for behaviors you want to eliminate and remove friction for behaviors you want to install. Make good choices easier and bad choices harder. Decision reduction involves eliminating the need to make discipline-related decisions in the moment. Every decision you make depletes your mental energy and willpower. The more decisions you have to make about whether to be disciplined, the more likely you are to choose the easy option. Instead of deciding each day whether or not you'll take action, make it automatic. If you've committed to working out, you work out no matter what. If you've decided to write every day, you write every day even if you don't feel inspired. Remove the decision-making process entirely. This is why successful people often have rigid routines. It's not because they're boring or lack creativity. It's because they understand that routine eliminates the mental energy required for decision-making. When discipline becomes automatic, it stops requiring willpower. A useful technique is the non-negotiable rule. Identify the 3 to 5 most important discipline behaviors in your life and make them non-negotiable. These are things you do regardless of how you feel, what's happening around you, or what other priorities arise. The longer you maintain non-negotiables, the more automatic they become. Identity reinforcement involves using your sense of self to drive disciplined behavior. Instead of relying on external motivation, you act in alignment with who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, you naturally make disciplined choices without having to force yourself. This connects back to the identity shift protocol we discussed earlier. When you adopt the identity of a disciplined person, discipline stops feeling like something you have to do and starts feeling like something you naturally do because it's who you are. Use identity-based language when making choices. Instead of saying, "I have to work out," say, "I'm someone who takes care of their body." Instead of, "I should avoid junk food," think, "I'm someone who fuels their body with quality nutrition." This subtle shift in language reinforces your identity and makes disciplined choices feel natural. Progressive overload applies the principle of gradual increase to build discipline systematically. Just like you wouldn't go from lifting 0 weights to bench pressing 300 pounds overnight, you can't expect to become perfectly disciplined immediately. Discipline is a muscle that needs to be strengthened gradually. Start with small disciplined actions that you can maintain consistently. Maybe it's making your bed every morning, drinking a glass of water when you wake up, or writing 1 sentence in a journal before bed. The specific action matters less than the consistency. Once small disciplines become automatic, gradually increase the challenge. Add more time, more difficulty, or more complexity. The key is to stretch yourself without breaking. You want to build confidence in your ability to follow through while gradually expanding your capacity for discipline. Track your progress to maintain motivation and identify patterns. Document your wins, no matter how small. This reinforces the identity of someone who follows through and builds momentum for bigger challenges. The discipline override system also includes specific techniques for handling moments when discipline feels impossible. The 5-minute rule. When you don't want to do something, commit to doing it for just 5 minutes. Often, starting is the hardest part, and once you begin, momentum carries you forward. Even if you only do 5 minutes, you've maintained the habit and reinforced your disciplined identity. The future self conversation. Before making a choice, imagine talking to yourself 1 year from now. What would future you want current you to do? This perspective shift helps you see past immediate discomfort to long-term consequences and benefits. The pain-pleasure leverage. Connect intense emotional pain to undisciplined choices and intense pleasure to disciplined choices. Your brain moves away from pain and toward pleasure. If you can make discipline feel more pleasurable than laziness, your brain will naturally choose discipline. The implementation intention. Instead of vague commitments, like, "I'll exercise more," create specific if-then statements. If it's 6 a.m. on a weekday, then I will go to the gym. This pre-programs your behavior and reduces the need for in-the-moment decision-making. Remember, the goal isn't to become a disciplined robot who never enjoys life. The goal is to become someone who can consistently do what they say they're going to do, especially when they don't feel like it. This creates a foundation of self-trust and personal power that impacts every area of your life. Discipline is freedom. It's the freedom to create the life you want, rather than being controlled by momentary impulses and emotional reactions. It's the freedom to pursue your biggest goals, knowing that you have the internal infrastructure to follow through. And most importantly, it's the freedom to respect yourself because you've proven that your word means something, especially the promises you make to yourself. Chapter 10. The Emotional Mastery Framework. Your emotions are not happening to you. They are being created by you. This is one of the most empowering realizations you can have, and it's the foundation of emotional mastery. Most people live as slaves to their emotional reactions, believing that their feelings are automatic responses to external circumstances. But the truth is that your emotions are generated by your thoughts, beliefs, and focus, all of which you can learn to control. The Emotional Mastery Framework is built on a simple but profound understanding. Between any trigger and your emotional response, there is a gap. In that gap lies your power. Most people never learn to access this gap because they've been conditioned to react automatically. But once you learn to pause in that space between trigger and response, you can choose your emotional state rather than being controlled by it. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Emotional mastery is about understanding the source of your emotions and consciously choosing responses that serve your goals and well-being rather than reactions that sabotage them. The framework consists of 4 levels: awareness, understanding, choice, and creation. Level 1 is awareness, learning to observe your emotions without being consumed by them. Most people are so identified with their emotions that they can't separate themselves from what they're feeling. They say, "I am angry," instead of, "I am experiencing anger." This subtle difference is crucial because it reminds you that you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness experiencing emotions. Practice emotional labeling throughout the day. When you notice an emotional reaction, pause and name it specifically. Instead of, "I feel bad," identify whether you're feeling frustrated, disappointed, anxious, overwhelmed, or something else. This simple act of labeling activates your prefrontal cortex and reduces the intensity of emotional reactions. Develop body awareness around emotions. Emotions aren't just mental experiences. They create physical sensations. Anger might feel like tension in your jaw or heat in your chest. Anxiety might manifest as tightness in your stomach or shallow breathing. By becoming aware of the physical signatures of different emotions, you can catch them earlier and intervene before they escalate. Level 2 is understanding, recognizing what triggers your emotions and why. Every emotional reaction is trying to tell you something. Fear is trying to protect you from perceived danger. Anger is responding to a perceived injustice or boundary violation. Sadness is processing loss or unmet expectations. Understanding the message behind the emotion helps you respond more appropriately. Start tracking your emotional patterns. What situations consistently trigger strong reactions? What thoughts or beliefs are running underneath those reactions? What unmet needs or values are being activated? This detective work reveals the subconscious programming that's driving your emotional responses. Pay special attention to your emotional story, the narrative you tell yourself about what's happening and what it means. 2 people can experience the same situation and have completely different emotional reactions based on the story they tell themselves about it. By becoming aware of your stories, you can start choosing more empowering narratives. Level 3 is choice, consciously selecting your emotional response rather than defaulting to automatic reactions. This is where most people think emotional mastery is impossible because they believe emotions are involuntary. But while you can't always control your initial emotional impulse, you can choose how long you stay in that emotion and how intensely you experience it. The key technique is the emotional pause protocol. When you notice a strong emotional reaction beginning, immediately pause and take 3 deep breaths. This interrupts the automatic reaction cycle and gives you space to choose your response. In that pause, ask yourself, what emotion would be most useful in this situation? What emotional state would help me handle this in a way I'll be proud of later? Remember that emotional choice isn't about choosing to feel happy all the time. Sometimes anger is appropriate. It can fuel necessary action or help you set important boundaries. Sometimes sadness is healthy. It helps you process loss and shows you what matters to you. The goal is to choose emotions consciously rather than being controlled by them unconsciously. Level 4 is creation, proactively generating emotional states that support your goals and well-being. Instead of just managing negative emotions, you learn to create positive emotional states on demand. This is the highest level of emotional mastery because it makes you emotionally independent from external circumstances. Emotional creation works through the principle of physiology and focus. Your emotional state is heavily influenced by your body posture, breathing patterns, and facial expressions. Stand tall, breathe deeply, and smile, and you'll feel more confident. Slouch, breathe shallowly, and frown, and you'll feel more depressed. You can literally change your emotional state by changing your physiology. Your focus also determines your emotional state. If you focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what you're afraid of, you'll feel negative emotions. If you focus on what's working, what you're grateful for, or what's possible, you'll feel positive emotions. This isn't about denial or fake positivity. It's about consciously directing your attention toward thoughts that generate useful emotional states. The emotional state menu technique involves identifying specific emotional states that would serve you in different situations and creating anchors to access them quickly. For example, you might develop a confidence anchor by remembering times when you felt supremely confident while making a specific physical gesture. Practice this combination repeatedly until the physical gesture automatically triggers the confident emotional state. Create emotional rituals for important situations. Before giving a presentation, you might have a routine that generates calm confidence. Before a difficult conversation, you might have practices that create centered compassion. Before tackling a challenging project, you might have methods for generating focused determination. The framework also includes advanced techniques for handling persistent emotional patterns. The emotional reframe method involves finding a different perspective on situations that typically trigger negative emotions. Instead of seeing challenges as problems, you can train yourself to see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of viewing criticism as personal attacks, you can learn to see them as feedback for improvement. The values hierarchy technique helps you make emotional choices based on your deeper values rather than momentary impulses. When facing an emotional trigger, ask yourself, if I respond from anger, does that align with my values? If I choose calm confidence instead, how does that serve what I truly care about? The emotional transformation process involves using negative emotions as fuel for positive change. Instead of trying to eliminate anger, you can transform it into determination. Instead of staying stuck in sadness, you can channel it into compassion. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, you can convert it into excitement about growth. The most important insight about emotional mastery is that it's not about becoming emotionally numb or always staying positive. It's about developing the ability to feel your emotions fully while choosing your responses consciously. It's about using your emotions as information and fuel rather than being used by them. Emotions are energy in motion. When you learn to master this energy, when you learn to direct it consciously rather than being directed by it, you gain access to tremendous power. You become someone who can stay calm in chaos, confident in uncertainty, and determined in the face of obstacles. You become emotionally resilient, which means that external circumstances lose their power to control your internal state. This emotional independence is one of the most valuable skills you can develop because it affects every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you can choose love over fear, understanding over judgment, and patience over reactivity. Your career advances because you can choose confidence over insecurity, persistence over discouragement, and vision over worry. Your health improves because you're not constantly stressed by emotional reactivity. Emotional mastery is not a destination. It's a practice. Every day provides opportunities to strengthen this skill. Every challenging situation is a chance to practice choosing your emotional response. And with consistent practice, what once required tremendous effort becomes natural and automatic. Chapter 11. The Focus Revolution. In a world designed to fracture your attention and hijack your focus, the ability to concentrate deeply on what matters most has become a superpower. Your focus determines your reality more than any other factor, because whatever you consistently focus on expands in your experience and gets prioritized by your subconscious mind. Most people live in a constant state of divided attention, trying to multitask their way to success while their minds jump from one distraction to another. They wonder why they feel overwhelmed, why they can't make progress on important goals, and why they always feel behind. The answer is simple. They've lost control of their focus, and without focus, nothing else matters. Your brain is designed to notice novelty and potential threats, which made sense in a world where new or dangerous things required immediate attention for survival. But in the modern world, this same mechanism makes you vulnerable to every notification, every alert, and every piece of stimulating content designed to capture your attention for profit. The companies that make the most money in the modern economy are attention merchants, businesses that capture your focus and sell it to advertisers. Social media platforms, news organizations, entertainment companies, and even productivity apps are all competing for the same resource, your attention. And they're winning because they understand how your brain works better than you do. But once you understand the science of focus and implement systems to protect and direct your attention, you can reclaim this crucial resource and use it to create extraordinary results in your life. The focus revolution begins with understanding the difference between reactive focus and proactive focus. Reactive focus is when your attention is pulled around by external stimuli, notifications, interruptions, emotional reactions, and environmental distractions. Proactive focus is when you consciously direct your attention toward what matters most, regardless of what's trying to distract you. Most people spend their entire day in reactive mode, responding to whatever demands their attention most loudly. They check email constantly, scroll through social media when they should be working, and allow their minds to wander to worries and problems instead of solutions and opportunities. Proactive focus requires training your brain to sustain attention on chosen targets for extended periods. This is like physical fitness for your mind. It requires consistent practice and gradually increasing challenges. But unlike physical fitness, focus training affects every area of your life because attention is the foundation of all achievement. The 4 pillars of focus mastery are attention control, environmental design, cognitive load management, and deep work implementation. Attention control is the ability to consciously direct your focus and maintain it despite distractions. This skill is developed through specific practices that strengthen your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function and cognitive control. The foundation practice is focused breathing meditation. Spend 10 to 20 minutes daily focusing solely on your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently return your attention to your breathing. This simple exercise trains the fundamental skill of noticing when your attention has drifted and consciously redirecting it. This isn't about emptying your mind or achieving some mystical state. It's about building the mental muscle of sustained attention. Every time you notice your mind has wandered and bring it back to your breath, you're strengthening neural pathways associated with focus and cognitive control. Progress to single-tasking meditation, where you focus completely on one activity at a time throughout your day. When you're eating, focus entirely on eating. When you're walking, focus entirely on walking. When you're having a conversation, focus entirely on the person you're talking with. This trains your brain to engage fully with whatever you're doing instead of constantly multitasking. Environmental design for focus involves creating physical and digital environments that support sustained attention rather than fragmenting it. Your environment is constantly influencing your cognitive state, often without your awareness. Create a dedicated focus space where you do your most important work. This space should be free from visual clutter, noise distractions, and anything that isn't directly related to the task at hand. Your brain associates environments with behaviors, so having a specific space for focused work trains your mind to enter a focused state more quickly when you're in that environment. Design your digital environment to support focus. Remove distracting apps from your phone's home screen. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use website blockers during focused work sessions. Create friction between yourself and digital distractions by logging out of social media accounts and putting your phone in another room during deep work. The key principle is that your environment should make focused behavior easier and distracted behavior harder. If you have to take multiple steps to check social media, but your important work is immediately accessible, you're more likely to stay focused. Cognitive load management involves understanding and optimizing your brain's processing capacity. Your mind has limited cognitive resources, and if those resources are being used for low-value activities, you won't have enough mental energy for high-value focus. Reduce decision fatigue by automating routine choices. What you wear, what you eat for breakfast, when you work out. These small decisions add up throughout the day and deplete your cognitive resources. Successful people often have strict routines, not because they're boring, but because they understand that decision-making depletes mental energy. Use external systems to store information instead of trying to remember everything. Your brain is for processing, not storage. Write down tasks, ideas, and commitments so your mind isn't constantly trying to remember them. This frees up cognitive resources for focused thinking and creative problem solving. Practice cognitive minimalism by eliminating non-essential mental inputs. Reduce news consumption, limit social media exposure, and avoid consuming content that doesn't directly support your goals. Your brain can only process so much information effectively, and every unnecessary input reduces your capacity for focused thinking. Deep work implementation is about creating sustained periods of focused effort on cognitively demanding tasks. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task for extended periods. It's becoming increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. Most people never experience true deep work because they've trained their brains to expect constant stimulation and immediate gratification. They work for 20 minutes, then check email. They read for 15 minutes, then look at their phone. They try to solve a problem for 10 minutes, then switch to something easier when their brain craves stimulation. But deep work is where breakthrough thinking happens. It's where complex problems get solved, creative insights emerge, and high-value output gets created. The ability to sustain focus for 2 to 4 hours on important work is becoming so rare that it creates massive competitive advantages for those who develop it. Start with 45 to 60-minute deep work sessions and gradually increase the duration. During these sessions, eliminate all potential distractions and focus solely on one cognitively demanding task. No email, no phone, no multitasking, just sustained attention on meaningful work. Use the deep work ritual to signal to your brain that it's time for focused effort. This might include specific music, a particular location, a cup of coffee, or a brief meditation. The ritual creates a psychological trigger that helps your brain enter a focused state more quickly. Track your deep work hours and quality to maintain motivation and identify patterns. Notice when you're most capable of sustained focus and schedule your most important work during those times. Most people have 2 to 4 hours of peak cognitive capacity per day. Identify yours and protect it fiercely. The advanced focus techniques include methods for handling specific focus challenges. The attention restoration protocol is for when your focus feels completely depleted. Take a 10 to 15-minute walk in nature without any devices or mental stimulation. Natural environments restore cognitive capacity in ways that artificial environments cannot. The focus flow state technique involves matching task difficulty to your current skill level to create optimal challenge. Tasks that are too easy lead to boredom and mind wandering. Tasks that are too difficult create anxiety and cognitive overload. Find the sweet spot where the challenge requires your full attention, but feels achievable. The interference management system involves identifying and neutralizing your specific focus disruptors. Common disruptors include physical discomfort, emotional stress, environmental noise, digital distractions, and internal worry loops. Develop specific protocols for handling each type of interference. Remember, focus is not just about productivity, it's about presence. When you develop the ability to direct your attention consciously, you become more present in your relationships, more aware of opportunities, and more capable of enjoying life's experiences fully. Your focus determines what you notice, what you think about, what you remember, and ultimately, what becomes real in your experience. Master your focus, and you master your mind. Master your mind, and you master your life. Chapter 12. The Momentum Machine. Success is not about perfection. It's about momentum. Momentum is the psychological force that makes action feel effortless, progress feel inevitable, and obstacles feel surmountable. When you have momentum, everything becomes easier. When you lack momentum, everything feels like an uphill battle. Most people destroy their own momentum without realizing it. They start strong, make initial progress, then sabotage themselves through inconsistency, perfectionism, or trying to do too much too soon. They don't understand that momentum is built through specific principles that must be respected and protected. The momentum machine is a system for creating and maintaining unstoppable forward progress in any area of your life. It works by understanding and leveraging the psychological and neurological mechanisms that create the experience of momentum. The foundation of momentum is consistency over intensity. Your brain builds neural pathways through repetition, not through sporadic bursts of extreme effort. A person who exercises for 20 minutes every day will build stronger habits and see better long-term results than someone who exercises for 3 hours once a week. This is counterintuitive because our culture celebrates dramatic effort and instant transformation. We see stories of people who completely change their lives overnight and assume that's how change happens. But those dramatic stories are usually the culmination of many small, consistent actions that built momentum over time. The neuroscience is clear. Your brain responds better to small, repeated inputs than to large, sporadic ones. Every time you follow through on a commitment, even a tiny one, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with self-trust and follow-through. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, even a small one, you weaken those pathways. The momentum machine operates on 5 core principles: minimum viable progress, compound momentum, friction reduction, progress tracking, and momentum protection. Minimum viable progress is about identifying the smallest possible action you can take consistently toward your goal. This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about ensuring you never break your momentum chain. If your goal is to write a book, your minimum viable progress might be writing 1 sentence per day. If your goal is to get in shape, it might be doing 1 push-up per day. If your goal is to build a business, it might be making 1 sales call per day. These actions seem almost laughably small, But that's the point. The goal isn't to accomplish everything through these minimum actions. It's to maintain your momentum, even on your worst days. On good days, you'll naturally do more than the minimum. But on difficult days, when motivation is low and obstacles are high, you can still maintain momentum by hitting your minimum. This creates a psychological win every single day. Your subconscious starts to see you as someone who always follows through, someone who never breaks commitments to themselves. This identity shift is crucial because your actions naturally align with your identity. Compound momentum recognizes that momentum builds on itself exponentially, not linearly. Each day you maintain your momentum makes the next day easier. Each week of consistency makes the following week feel more natural. Each month of progress creates a foundation that supports accelerated growth. This is why the first 30 days of any new habit or goal are the most crucial. You're not just working toward your objective. You're building the momentum that will carry you toward it. The initial period requires the most willpower and conscious effort. But if you can maintain consistency during this phase, the behavior starts to become automatic. Track your momentum streaks to visualize this compound effect. Keep a calendar where you mark each day you complete your minimum viable progress. Seeing an unbroken chain of marks creates powerful psychological motivation to continue the streak. The goal is never to break the chain. Some days you'll do the absolute minimum, and that's perfect. Some days you'll far exceed your minimum, and that's great too. But never break the chain, because starting over requires much more energy than maintaining momentum. Friction reduction involves eliminating obstacles that could break your momentum chain. Identify everything that makes your desired behavior more difficult and systematically remove those barriers. If you want to exercise consistently, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthily, prep your meals in advance. If you want to read more, keep a book next to your bed and another in your car. If you want to meditate daily, have a dedicated space ready with everything you need. The easier you make the desired behavior, the more likely you are to maintain it during difficult periods. When motivation is low, convenience becomes crucial. Remove every possible excuse for breaking your momentum. Also, reduce the friction of getting back on track when you do slip up. If you miss a day, have a specific protocol for resuming your momentum immediately. Don't let one missed day become a missed week. Plan for imperfection and create systems for rapid recovery. Progress tracking involves measuring and celebrating your advancement in ways that reinforce momentum rather than undermining it. Most people track progress in ways that actually destroy motivation by focusing on what they haven't achieved yet rather than how far they've come. Track inputs, not just outputs, instead of only measuring results, which can be slow and inconsistent. Track the actions you're taking. Count your workout days, your writing sessions, your sales calls, your meditation minutes. These input metrics are under your direct control and provide daily evidence of progress. Use visual progress indicators that make your advancement tangible. This could be a jar you fill with marbles for each completed action, a wall calendar with check marks, or a digital tracker that shows your streak. Visual representations of progress create psychological satisfaction and motivation to continue. Celebrate small wins consistently. Your brain responds to recognition and reward even when you're the one providing it. Acknowledge your daily minimums, your weekly consistency, your monthly progress. This positive reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with your new behaviors. Momentum protection is about safeguarding your progress from the inevitable challenges, setbacks, and obstacles that could derail your momentum. This requires both mental and practical preparation. Develop an obstacle anticipation protocol by identifying potential challenges before they arise and creating specific plans for handling them. If you're building an exercise habit, what will you do when you're traveling? When you're sick? When you're extremely busy? Having predetermined responses to common obstacles prevents them from breaking your momentum. Create momentum buffers, small reserves of progress that protect you during difficult periods. If your minimum viable progress is 1 page of writing per day, try to build a buffer by writing extra pages when possible. This buffer allows you to maintain your streak even during periods when hitting your minimum is challenging. Practice the momentum mindset by viewing obstacles as temporary challenges rather than permanent roadblocks. When difficulties arise, ask yourself, how can I maintain my momentum despite this challenge? Rather than, why is this happening to me? This mental shift keeps you focused on solutions rather than problems. The advanced momentum techniques include strategies for accelerating progress once initial momentum is established. The momentum stacking method involves adding new habits to existing momentum rather than starting from scratch. Once one behavior becomes automatic, you can leverage that established momentum to build related behaviors. If you have a strong morning exercise routine, you might add meditation or journaling to that existing momentum. The momentum multiplication technique involves finding ways to get multiple benefits from single actions. Choose behaviors that advance multiple goals simultaneously. Reading books about your field improves both your knowledge and your reading habit. Walking meetings advance both your fitness and your business goals. The momentum acceleration protocol involves gradually increasing your minimum viable progress once the initial behavior is firmly established. If you've been writing 1 sentence daily for 30 days, you might increase to 1 paragraph. If you've been exercising for 10 minutes daily for a month, you might increase to 15 minutes. The key insight about momentum is that it's more valuable than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but momentum builds on itself and creates its own energy. When you have momentum, you don't need to feel motivated to take action. Action feels natural and automatic. Momentum also creates a positive feedback loop with confidence. As you consistently follow through on commitments to yourself, you build evidence that you're someone who gets things done. This increased self-trust makes future commitments feel more achievable, which creates more momentum, which builds more confidence. The people who achieve extraordinary results aren't necessarily more talented or motivated than others. They're better at building and maintaining momentum. They understand that small, consistent actions compound into massive results over time. They protect their momentum like their most valuable asset because they understand that it is. Your momentum is your psychological net worth. It represents your ability to create consistent progress toward your goals, regardless of external circumstances. When you master the momentum machine, when you learn to build and maintain unstoppable forward progress, you become someone who achieves their goals not through force or perfection, but through the unstoppable power of consistent action. Chapter 13. The Belief System Architecture. Your beliefs are the invisible foundation of your reality. They determine what you think is possible, what you notice in your environment, what actions you take, and ultimately, what results you create. Most people never consciously examine their beliefs, living their entire lives imprisoned by mental limitations they inherited from others and never questioned. Your belief system is like the operating system of your mind. Just as a computer's operating system determines what software can run and how efficiently it performs, your beliefs determine what thoughts you can think, what goals you can pursue, and how effectively you can pursue them. The most powerful beliefs are the ones you're not even aware of. The assumptions about reality that feel so true, they seem like facts rather than opinions. These core beliefs shape every aspect of your experience without you realizing it. Most of your beliefs were installed before you were old enough to choose them consciously. As a child, your mind was like a sponge, absorbing beliefs from parents, teachers, peers, media, and culture without any filtering mechanism. You accepted these beliefs as truth simply because they came from authority figures or were repeated often enough to feel normal. But here's what changes everything. Beliefs are not facts. They are mental constructs. learned patterns of thinking that can be examined, questioned, and changed. Every belief you hold was learned, which means it can be unlearned and replaced with beliefs that serve you better. The belief system architecture is a framework for identifying, evaluating, and consciously redesigning your core beliefs to support your highest potential, rather than limit it. The architecture consists of 4 levels: surface beliefs, core beliefs, identity beliefs, and reality beliefs. Surface beliefs are the conscious opinions and attitudes you're aware of holding. These might include beliefs about specific topics like politics, career strategies, or lifestyle choices. Surface beliefs are relatively easy to identify and change because you're conscious of them. Core beliefs are deeper assumptions about how the world works, what's possible for people like you, and what you deserve. These beliefs often operate below conscious awareness, but have massive impact on your behavior and results. Examples include beliefs about money, success, relationships, and personal worth. Identity beliefs are your beliefs about who you are, what you're capable of, and what type of person you're meant to be. These beliefs form your self-concept and act as a thermostat for your life, ensuring that your external reality matches your internal identity. Reality beliefs are your deepest assumptions about the nature of existence, how the universe works, and what's fundamentally true about life. These beliefs form the foundation for all other beliefs and usually operate completely outside conscious awareness. The belief archaeology process involves systematically excavating and examining beliefs at each level to identify which ones serve you and which ones limit you. Start with result analysis. Examine areas of your life where you're not getting the results you want and work backward to identify the beliefs that might be creating those outcomes. If you struggle with money, what do you really believe about wealth, success, and people who have money? If you have relationship problems, what do you believe about love, trust, and your own worthiness? Use the belief detection questions to uncover hidden assumptions. What do I believe has to be true for my current results to make sense? What would I have to believe about myself to act the way I've been acting? What assumptions am I making about what's possible for someone like me? What beliefs did I absorb from my family about success, money, relationships, and self-worth? Pay attention to your automatic thoughts, the immediate mental responses you have to situations. These thoughts often reveal underlying beliefs. If your automatic thought when facing a challenge is, "I'll probably fail," you've uncovered a belief about your capabilities. If your immediate response to opportunity is, "I'm not qualified," you've identified a belief about worthiness. The belief evaluation framework helps you assess whether your beliefs are serving you or limiting you. Not all beliefs need to be literally true to be useful, and not all true beliefs are helpful for creating the life you want. Ask yourself these questions about each belief you identify. Does this belief empower me or limit me? Does this belief open possibilities or close them? Does this belief make me more confident or more fearful? Where did this belief come from, and do I want to keep accepting it? What would be possible for me if I didn't hold this belief? Remember that beliefs are tools, not truth. Choose beliefs based on their usefulness for creating the life you want, not just their factual accuracy. A belief doesn't have to be provably true to be beneficial if it leads to better actions and outcomes. The belief installation process involves systematically replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones using the same mechanisms that installed the original beliefs: repetition, emotion, and evidence. Start with belief design, consciously choosing new beliefs that would support your goals and potential. Don't just negate limiting beliefs, "I'm not unsuccessful," but create positive, empowering alternatives. "I am capable of creating extraordinary success." Make your new beliefs specific and personal rather than generic. Instead of "success is possible," choose I have the skills, creativity, and persistence to build the business I envision. Specific beliefs feel more real and are easier for your subconscious to accept. Use the evidence collection method to support your new beliefs with real examples. Your subconscious accepts beliefs more readily when they're backed by evidence. Find examples of people similar to you who have achieved what you want to achieve. Document times when you've succeeded in the past. Create experiences that provide evidence for your new beliefs. This doesn't mean cherry-picking evidence or ignoring reality. It means consciously looking for evidence that supports empowering beliefs rather than automatically focusing on evidence that supports limiting ones. The belief reinforcement system involves using repetition and emotion to strengthen new neural pathways until new beliefs become automatic. Practice belief affirmation with emotional intensity. Simply repeating words won't change deep beliefs, but repeatedly stating new beliefs while generating intense positive emotions can create new neural pathways. Feel the excitement, confidence, and certainty of your new belief as you affirm it. Use future memory visualization to create vivid mental experiences of your new beliefs being true. Your brain treats vivid imagination similarly to real experience, especially when strong emotions are involved. Regularly visualize yourself acting from your new beliefs and achieving the results they make possible. Create belief anchors, physical gestures, phrases, or environmental cues that remind you of your new beliefs and help you access the emotional states associated with them. When facing challenges, use these anchors to quickly shift from old limiting beliefs to new empowering ones. The advanced belief work includes techniques for handling persistent limiting beliefs and accelerating the belief change process. The belief genealogy method involves tracing limiting beliefs back to their origins to understand and neutralize their power. Often, understanding where a belief came from and why it was installed can help you release it more easily. The belief stress testing involves deliberately challenging your new beliefs in low-stakes situations to strengthen them. Take small actions that require you to act from your new beliefs before the belief feels completely natural. This builds evidence and confidence. The belief ecology assessment ensures that your new beliefs work together harmoniously rather than creating internal conflicts. Sometimes changing one belief requires adjusting related beliefs to maintain internal consistency. The most important insight about beliefs is that they are always working. You cannot not have beliefs. The question is whether your beliefs are working for you or against you, whether they're expanding your possibilities or constraining them. Your beliefs determine your reality more than your circumstances do. Two people can face identical situations and have completely different experiences based on their beliefs about what those situations mean and what's possible within them. When you take conscious control of your belief system, when you learn to design and install beliefs that serve your highest potential, you gain the power to reshape your reality from the inside out. Your external circumstances will always rise to match your internal beliefs about what's possible and what you deserve. This is why belief work is the deepest level of transformation. Change your actions, and you change your results temporarily. Change your beliefs, and you change your reality permanently. Chapter 14. The Integration Protocol. Knowledge without implementation is just entertainment. Understanding without application is just intellectual masturbation. You can know everything about neuroplasticity, habit formation, and mindset optimization, but if you don't systematically integrate these concepts into your daily life, nothing will change. The integration protocol is a step-by-step system for taking everything you've learned about rewiring your brain and turning it into lasting transformation. It's designed to prevent the common trap of consuming information without implementing it, learning concepts without living them. Most people fail at transformation because they try to change everything at once. They get excited about new possibilities, attempt massive overhauls of their entire life, and then burn out within weeks. The integration protocol prevents this by creating a systematic, sustainable approach to implementing change. The protocol is based on the principle of layered implementation, building transformation in stages, with each layer providing a foundation for the next. This approach respects the way your brain actually adapts to change and minimizes the resistance that kills most transformation efforts. Phase 1 is foundation building, which focuses on establishing the basic infrastructure for all other changes. This phase typically lasts 30 to 60 days and involves installing the most fundamental practices that support mental transformation. The first foundation element is daily mind management, establishing a consistent practice for consciously directing your mental state each day. This includes a morning mental priming routine that sets your focus, emotional state, and intention for the day. This might include 10 minutes of focused breathing, reading empowering content, or visualizing your goals. The specific activities matter less than the consistency of taking conscious control of your mind first thing in the morning. An evening mental review process where you reflect on the day, acknowledge your progress, and program your subconscious for continued growth. This might include journaling about wins, challenges overcome, and areas for improvement. This practice helps integrate the day's experiences and reinforces your identity as someone who is growing and improving. The second foundation element is environmental optimization, creating physical and digital environments that support focused thinking and eliminate unnecessary cognitive drain. This includes organizing your physical space to reduce visual clutter and create dedicated areas for important activities. Your environment constantly influences your mental state, often without conscious awareness. A clean, organized environment supports clear thinking and reduces mental fatigue. Optimizing your digital environment by removing distracting apps, organizing information systems, and creating digital boundaries that protect your focus. This includes email management systems, social media limitations, and notification controls. The third foundation element is energy management, establishing practices that maintain high physical and mental energy throughout the day. This includes sleep optimization protocols that ensure you're getting quality rest, since your brain literally rewires itself during sleep. Poor sleep undermines every other transformation effort. Nutrition and hydration. Practices that support cognitive function rather than creating energy, crashes, and brain fog. Movement practices that increase blood flow to the brain and support neuroplasticity. Physical exercise is one of the most powerful tools for accelerating mental transformation. Phase 2 is core installation, which focuses on implementing the primary mental skills and practices that drive transformation. This phase typically lasts 60 to 90 days and builds on the foundation established in Phase 1. The first core element is subconscious reprogramming routines, daily practices specifically designed to install new beliefs and identity patterns. This includes morning affirmation practices that combine repetition with emotional intensity to build new neural pathways. The key is consistency and genuine emotional engagement rather than mechanical repetition. Visualization sessions that create vivid mental experiences of your desired identity and outcomes. Your brain treats realistic visualization similarly to actual experience, especially when emotions are involved. Identity reinforcement practices that involve taking small actions throughout the day that confirm your new identity. If you're developing confidence, this might mean speaking up in meetings or maintaining better posture. These micro-actions accumulate to create major identity shifts. The second core element is resistance management systems, specific protocols for handling the inevitable resistance that arises during transformation. This includes the resistance recognition protocol, learning to identify when your subconscious is resisting change, and understanding that resistance is normal and temporary rather than a sign you should stop. The pause and redirect system, specific techniques for interrupting old pattern and choosing new responses when resistance arises. The Momentum Recovery Plan. Predetermined strategies for getting back on track quickly when you slip into old patterns, preventing temporary setbacks from becoming permanent reversals. The third core element is focus and discipline systems. Practices that strengthen your ability to sustain attention and follow through on commitments. This includes daily deep work sessions where you practice sustained focus on important tasks without distraction. Microdiscipline practices that build your ability to choose long-term benefits over short-term comfort in small, manageable ways. Attention training exercises that strengthen your prefrontal cortex and improve your ability to direct focus consciously. Phase 3 is advanced integration, which focuses on optimizing and customizing your transformation systems for maximum effectiveness. This phase begins around day 90 and continues indefinitely as you refine and expand your capabilities. The first advanced element is system optimization, analyzing which practices are producing the best results and modifying your approach for increased effectiveness. This includes regular assessment of which specific techniques are working best for your unique situation and personality, experimentation with new approaches and variations to prevent stagnation and continue growing, customization of practices to fit your lifestyle, schedule, and preferences while maintaining their effectiveness. The second advanced element is leverage multiplication, finding ways to amplify your results by combining practices or creating synergistic effects. This includes stacking complementary practices to get multiple benefits from single activities, creating momentum loops where progress in one area automatically supports progress in others, building systems that become more effective over time rather than requiring constant effort to maintain. The third advanced element is mastery development, moving beyond basic competence to true mastery of mental self-regulation. This includes advanced emotional regulation techniques that allow you to maintain optimal states regardless of external circumstances, sophisticated belief work that involves designing and installing complex belief systems that support multiple goals simultaneously, metacognitive skills that allow you to observe and optimize your own thinking processes in real time. The integration protocol also includes specific tracking and measurement systems to ensure you're making real progress rather than just feeling busy. The weekly progress review involves assessing your advancement in key areas and adjusting your approach based on results. This prevents you from continuing practices that aren't working and helps you double down on what's most effective. The monthly transformation assessment involves stepping back to evaluate larger patterns and make strategic adjustments to your overall approach. This ensures you're moving toward your ultimate goals rather than just maintaining practices. The quarterly integration audit involves comprehensive evaluation of your entire system to identify opportunities for optimization and evolution. This keeps your transformation process fresh and effective over the long term. The most critical aspect of the integration protocol is the commitment to implementation over information. It's better to implement one technique consistently for 30 days than to learn 10 techniques and implement none of them. Choose the practices that resonate most with your current situation and commit to them completely before adding new elements. Depth of implementation is more valuable than breadth of knowledge. Remember that transformation is not a destination. It's an ongoing process of growth and optimization. The integration protocol provides the structure for making this process systematic and sustainable rather than random and sporadic. The goal is not to become perfect, but to become someone who consistently grows, adapts, and improves. When you master the integration protocol, when you learn to systematically implement transformation practices, you become someone who doesn't just consume information about change. You become someone who creates change. Chapter 15. The Compound Effect of Mental Mastery. Everything you've learned in this video isn't just about fixing problems or overcoming limitations. It's about unlocking compound growth in every area of your life. When you master your mind, when you take control of your thoughts, beliefs, and mental patterns, you don't just improve one thing, you improve everything. Mental mastery creates what I call the compound effect, exponential improvements that build on each other across multiple areas of your life simultaneously. Most people think about self-improvement in isolated categories: career success, relationships, health, finances. But when you transform your mind, you transform the foundation that all these areas are built on. Think about it this way. Your mind is the common denominator in every experience you have. The same mental patterns that create confidence in your career also create confidence in your relationships. The same discipline that helps you build wealth also helps you maintain health. The same focus that drives professional success also deepens personal connections. This is why people who master their minds often seem to succeed in multiple areas simultaneously. It's not because they're naturally gifted or lucky. It's because they've upgraded the operating system that runs their entire life. The compound effect manifests in 5 key areas: accelerated learning, enhanced decision-making, increased resilience, expanded opportunities, and multiplied impact. Accelerated learning happens because once you understand how your brain works, you can optimize how you acquire and integrate new information. You know how to focus deeply, how to encode information emotionally for better retention, and how to connect new knowledge to existing frameworks. More importantly, you've eliminated the mental barriers that slow most people's learning. You're not fighting against limiting beliefs about your intelligence or capabilities. You're not distracted by information overload or paralyzed by perfectionism. You can learn faster because your mind is optimized for growth rather than fighting against it. This accelerated learning creates compound returns because knowledge builds on knowledge. Each new skill or insight increases your capacity to acquire the next one. Each capability you develop opens doors to capabilities you couldn't access before. Enhanced decision-making emerges because you're no longer controlled by unconscious patterns, emotional reactions, or limiting beliefs. You can evaluate options based on logic and long-term consequences, rather than fear and immediate comfort. You can see opportunities that others miss because your mind isn't filtering them out based on old programming. Better decisions compound exponentially because each good decision creates better circumstances for future decisions. Choose better relationships, and you're surrounded by people who support your growth. Choose better information sources, and you're exposed to ideas that expand your thinking. Choose better habits, and you build systems that make future good decisions easier. Increased resilience develops because you understand that your emotional state is something you can influence rather than something that happens to you. You can maintain perspective during challenges, recover quickly from setbacks, and use obstacles as fuel for growth rather than evidence of limitation. This resilience compounds because it allows you to take more risks, pursue bigger opportunities, and persist through difficulties that stop others. You become someone who gets stronger through challenges, rather than someone who gets defeated by them. Expanded opportunities arise because your transformed mindset literally changes what you notice in your environment. Your reticular activating system starts filtering for possibilities instead of problems, for abundance instead of scarcity, for growth instead of limitation. You also become the type of person that opportunities are attracted to. People want to work with someone who is confident, focused, and emotionally stable. Resources flow toward those who can manage them wisely. Opportunities emerge for those who are prepared to recognize and act on them. Multiplied impact occurs because your transformed mindset doesn't just change your own life. It influences everyone around you. Your confidence inspires others. Your clarity helps others see possibilities they couldn't see before. Your growth gives others permission to grow. This creates ripple effects that extend far beyond your personal transformation. Your relationships improve because you're showing up as a better version of yourself. Your professional impact increases because you're operating from clarity and confidence rather than fear and limitation. Your contribution to the world grows because you're no longer holding yourself back. The compound effect also includes what I call momentum multiplication. Once you've successfully transformed one area of your life using these principles, you have proof that transformation is possible. This evidence makes it easier to apply the same principles to other areas. Success breeds success, not just externally, but internally. Each win builds confidence in your ability to create change. Each breakthrough reinforces your identity as someone who grows and improves. Each transformation makes the next one feel more achievable. This is why some people seem to experience rapid transformation across multiple areas once they get started. It's not because change suddenly becomes easy. It's because they've built the internal infrastructure that supports consistent growth. The key insight is that mental mastery is the highest leverage skill you can develop. Every hour you invest in understanding and optimizing your mind pays dividends across every area of your life for the rest of your life. Most people invest enormous amounts of time and money trying to improve their circumstances without ever investing in improving themselves. They want better relationships without becoming a better partner. They want career success without developing success-oriented thinking. They want financial abundance without addressing their money mindset. But when you transform your mind first, external improvements become natural byproducts rather than forced outcomes. You don't have to chase success. You become the type of person that success is attracted to. This doesn't mean the process is always easy or comfortable. Real transformation requires you to confront uncomfortable truths about your current patterns, challenge beliefs you've held for years, and choose growth over comfort consistently. But the alternative is staying exactly where you are, year after year, wondering why nothing changes despite your efforts. The alternative is living with the regret of knowing you could have been more, but chose to remain less. The compound effect of mental mastery means that every day you don't start is a day you lose not just immediate progress, but compound progress. Every month you delay transformation is a month you miss all the accelerated growth that comes from having an optimized mind. But here's the encouraging truth. You can start right now, today, this moment. The brain's neuroplasticity means that the transformation process begins immediately when you start applying these principles consistently. You don't need perfect circumstances to begin. You don't need more time, more money, or more knowledge. You need commitment to the process and consistency in implementation. The question is not whether these principles work. The science is clear and the results are proven. The question is whether you will work the principles, whether you will take what you've learned and turn it into what you live. Your future self is looking back at this moment, hoping you make the choice that sets everything in motion. The version of you that you're capable of becoming is waiting for you to take the first step. Chapter 16. Your transformation starts now. Everything you've learned in this video has brought you to this single moment, the moment of decision. Not the decision to learn more, not the decision to think about it, but the decision to act. Because transformation doesn't happen in the mind alone. It happens when you bridge the gap between knowledge and action. Right now, your brain is at a crossroads. You can file this information away as interesting content you consumed, or you can use it as the catalyst for the most important transformations of your life. Your subconscious is already deciding which path you'll take based on patterns it's observed in your past behavior. If you've been someone who consumes transformation content but doesn't implement it, your subconscious expects you to do the same thing now. If you've been someone who starts strong but gives up when things get difficult, your subconscious is preparing for that pattern to repeat. But here's what your subconscious doesn't know. You now understand how it works. You know that these patterns are just programming, not destiny. You know that you can override old patterns by making different choices right now in this moment. The most important choice you can make is not what to change. It's the decision to become someone who follows through on their commitments to themselves. Everything else builds from that foundation. Your transformation begins with a single commitment. I will do what I say I'm going to do, especially the promises I make to myself. This isn't about grand gestures or perfect execution. It's about proving to yourself that your word means something, that you can be trusted to follow through. Choose one practice from everything you've learned, just one. Not the most impressive one, not the most complex one, but the one that resonates most strongly with your current situation. Maybe it's 5 minutes of morning mental priming. Maybe it's evening reflection and gratitude. Maybe it's daily visualization of your desired identity. Maybe it's the minimum viable progress approach to building momentum. Choose one practice and commit to it for exactly 30 days. Not forever, not until you feel like stopping, but for 30 specific days. This time frame is long enough to start building neural pathways, but short enough to prevent overwhelm. Write down your commitment. Make it specific. For the next 30 days, I will spend 10 minutes every morning doing focused breathing and visualization immediately after waking up. Include the what, when, where, and how long. Put this commitment somewhere you'll see it every day. Make it impossible to forget, because forgetting is how most commitments die. Tell someone about your commitment. Accountability multiplies your chances of follow-through. Choose someone who will support your growth, not someone who will enable your excuses. Now comes the most crucial part. Start today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when you have more time or feel more ready. Today. Right now, if possible. The longer you wait between learning and implementing, the less likely you are to ever begin. Your subconscious is watching this moment carefully. It's determining whether you're serious about change or just entertaining yourself with transformation content. The action you take in the next few hours will set the tone for everything that follows. Expect resistance. Expect your mind to generate reasons why you should wait. Why this particular practice isn't right. Why you should research more options first. Recognize this resistance as confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. Resistance appears when you're threatening the status quo. Expect imperfection. You might miss a day. You might do the practice half-heartedly sometimes. You might doubt whether it's working. This is all normal and expected. The goal is consistency, not perfection. Success is measured by how quickly you get back on track, not by avoiding all setbacks. Expect subtle changes at first. Transformation rarely announces itself with dramatic fanfare. More often, it whispers through small shifts in how you think, feel, and respond to situations. Pay attention to these subtle changes because they're evidence that your brain is rewiring itself. After 30 days of consistent practice, you'll have created something invaluable. Proof that you can follow through on commitments to yourself. This proof becomes the foundation for bigger transformations. You'll have evidence that you're someone who does what they say they're going to do. From this foundation, you can add additional practices, tackle bigger challenges, and pursue larger goals with confidence. Each successful implementation makes the next one easier because you're operating from a stronger identity. But remember, one practice for 30 days. The temptation will be to do more, faster. Resist this temptation. Depth is more valuable than breadth. Mastery of one practice is more powerful than dabbling in 10. Your 30-day commitment is not the end goal. It's the beginning of a new way of living. It's the first step in becoming someone who doesn't just consume information about transformation, but creates transformation in their actual life. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. This is your chance to stop being someone who thinks about change and start being someone who creates change. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. The person you're capable of becoming is waiting for you to take the first step. Every day you don't start is a day that version of yourself waits a little longer. You have everything you need. You understand the science. You know the principles. You have the systems. The only thing left is the decision to begin. Choose your practice. Write your commitment. Start today. Your transformation is not a someday possibility. It's a right now reality waiting for you to claim it. The only question remaining is, will you? Conclusion. The choice that changes everything. You've just absorbed more practical neuroscience and psychology than most people learn in years. You understand how your brain works, why you've been stuck, and exactly what to do about it. You have the tools, the systems, and the knowledge to rewire your brain for success and eliminate self-sabotage permanently. But knowledge alone changes nothing. Information without implementation is just entertainment. Understanding without action is just intellectual masturbation. The difference between the person you are right now and the person you could become isn't more information. It's implementation. It's the willingness to take what you've learned and turn it into what you live. Your brain is already deciding what you'll do with this information. Based on your past patterns, it's predicting whether you'll implement these concepts or just file them away as interesting ideas you once heard. But your past patterns don't have to determine your future reality. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to become someone different. Someone who doesn't just consume transformation content, but creates transformation in their actual life. The choice is simple but not easy. Will you be someone who knows about change, or someone who creates change? Will you be someone who understands neuroplasticity in theory, or someone who uses it to rewire their brain in practice? Will you be someone who can explain self-sabotage patterns, or someone who eliminates them from their life? Your future self is looking back at this moment, hoping you make the choice that sets everything in motion. The version of you that you're capable of becoming is waiting for you to take the first step. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for more information. Stop waiting for motivation. Choose one practice. Commit for 30 days. Start today. Your transformation begins now.